This is my third year and hopefully it'll be coming on to a fourth year. So originally it was like I just wanted to get out of the UK for a bit, and I've always had this really strong sense of adventure, and so I left uni. I was like, okay, I want to do something completely different. Started looking at teaching jobs, and that's when all the jobs were basically in China or Hong Kong, and I chose Hong Kong. Initially it was the culture shock and the homesickness, because even though I had been to China before on a school trip, I didn't feel the culture shock as much, because it's different when you know you're on holiday and it's only a few days and then you come back and it's a cool adventure, to moving there. And I got there and I was like, oh shit, what have I done? Like less than 24 hours in, it just dawned on me, I'm going to be here for 6 months or a year. So that was really something I struggled with, especially for the first few months while I was trying to find my feet. In this new job, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just felt totally underprepared for everything. Especially as I'd been led to believe back in the UK, oh, you'll get some training, the school will show you what you're doing. No, they literally just chucked me into a classroom and said, okay, here's some books, go teach. And it's like, what do you want me to teach? What am I doing? Yeah, the school was a mess, but it was okay after the first couple of weeks, once I kind of got into the routine and started getting more used to the teaching and interacting with 2-year-olds. And also once I started to get to know the other English teachers a bit, because when I first came to Hong Kong, I knew literally no one. I'd basically dropped myself off in the middle of this huge city knowing no one. So that was basically the thing I struggled with most, was getting used to the city, getting used to everything. And the homesickness. But simultaneously, as while I was really homesick, I also didn't want to leave. It was more, I wanted everyone back home to come here to be with me rather than go back, because weirdly, I'd still really love the city, and I loved, just instantly fell in love with my children and with teaching once I kind of got over my initial shyness and started to get a feel for it. Yeah. So one of the biggest moments that has continued to have a great impact on my life, not just in Hong Kong, but just in terms of my personal development and just in general, it was about 3/4 of the way through the school year. And I think everything had just been building up over the year. It'd been a year of a lot of massive changes, and then on top of that, I'm in this very challenging school environment, and everything just started to get to me, and I started reaching this absolute low point. Just physically, emotionally, mentally, I was totally exhausted. But then my kind of personality is but you keep going, and you just refuse to give up, because even though I was in this challenging environment, I was I refused to quit on my first ever job, and my first ever time in Hong Kong. I know I should, but I refused to do that. And so it was just that was basically what was just trying to keep me going, or in this case, it felt like I was just dragging myself along. I just reached this absolute breaking point. But if I hadn't reached that, just really reaching that really dark period, then it wouldn't have if I hadn't basically been broken down so much, it wouldn't have showed me to reach out and ask for help. And in doing that, that kind of helped me find these coping strategies and coping mechanisms for everything that was going on, and it really helped me to just let go of a lot of things. And also in reaching that low point, and looking back in hindsight, kind of showed me, and going through that whole journey of healing as well, really showed me what I'm made of and what I can do, and just a whole lot of appreciation for myself and how I was before, coming to Hong Kong knowing no one but still making a life out of myself, refusing to give up, and just that core strength of I'm not giving up on this at all. And even years later, it's that's definitely worth it, and it just definitely showed me what I was made of. It's kind of like that moment in a lot of films where the character, like, they're on the journey and everything starts to go horribly wrong and they just reach this absolute low point, but then that's when they have the like epiphany / transformative moment. Like, so I'm kind of thinking of like in Moana when she's like just been abandoned, like, and then she sees her grandmother's voice. It was kind of like that, where it was like you're at this absolute low point. Or Anna in Frozen 2 where she says, "Oh, darkness, I'm ready to succumb," or whatever that line is. That's exactly how I felt. And then it was just that moment of, hang on, I can get out of this. It's going to take time. And it's like in that song where it's like little baby steps. And that's how it happened. It was like little baby steps. And then from there, kind of just learning to let go and to grow. Yes, I just got this image of like, in that moment, it's like there was me as I was before. But then in being so broken down and worn down, it's like someone's like chipping into your very self, until all that was remaining was like, in this broken rock was this tiny, tiny light, which was like, that's me. That's a little like strength that is just like, I'm not giving up on this moment. And it's kind of like, I'm being so broken down and seeing for myself and like showing myself what I'm truly made of, and realizing the reason I'm getting so broken down is because I care for these kids, and I was giving so much of myself for these kids that I was losing some, like, because I was giving so much energy and I wasn't able to get it back. That's kind of how I was just getting so physically broken down to this pile of rubble. But in doing that, it's how I literally then was able to pick up the pieces and rebuild myself stronger, but also knowing there are certain things that, having gone through them in that first year, I'm now like, and in my second year, I was like, I put up with that once, I'm not putting up with that shit again. Like, yeah, it kind of made me realize there are certain things that I will not compromise on. And if I'm ever put in a situation like that again, I'm leaving. Like, I know what I stand for. Like, and being broken down is like, it made me realize, like, I know exactly what I stand for now. Yeah. So there is a couple of like major ones that stand out for me. So the first one was being selected to play in Team Hong Kong in the Quidditch World Cup. So I am a massive Harry Potter nerd, and I've been playing Quidditch by that point for like almost 5 years, and just like, if I'd stayed back in the UK, I would never have gotten that opportunity. But then coming to Hong Kong and being like, yeah, we want you to help represent Hong Kong, which at that point had become my adoptive home, was just so cool and so powerful. Like, just being able to say to like a younger version of myself, like, you find this sport that finally clicks with you and you become good enough that you are then able to play in this major top competition. Like, all that work over the past 5 years has really paid off. Like, it was just this awesome moment of kind of fulfilling this dream I never knew I had until it was presented to me. Another triumphant moment was like, so for me, because I love my job so much, it's like my profession and it's kind of become my calling in a way. It's really important for me to find the right work environment. And after dealing with the shit show of the first one, I'm basically deciding like, nope, I'm going to look for ones that appreciate me as a teacher and like respect me and my kids and everything. Second job was a bit better in those some respects, but then it turned out to be just as bad as the first one, and in some ways worse. And there was just coming to a point in February where I was like, no, I'm done with your bullshit, and resigning. And then a few weeks later when they tried to convince me to stay, and it just felt very manipulative. Like, that is, for me, it's just a massive triumphant moment, being like, no, fuck off. Like, literally, it felt like that. It was basically like, you had your chance to keep me. Like, you know I'm a good teacher. I know I'm a good teacher, and I'm not, and I love my kids. But screw you guys. Like, it was just so powerful being able to say to them, no, I'm not going to stay. I'm going to make your lives difficult because you made my life difficult. Like, you're not respecting me. You're not looking after the kids. You're a school. That's what you're meant to be doing. And it just felt so powerful. And then after all that manipulation, and then again when they said, oh, well, if you leave, you have to pay the fine. And again, being able to say, actually, I know you're lying to me again. Like just being in that, because after going through the first year, being so much stronger, more aware of my own rights as an employee as well, and just knowing what education should be. And again, like discovering there are certain lines and certain things that I won't cross. I have my own teaching philosophy, and if you don't, and the school clearly was in contrast, like in conflict with that. And okay, that might be okay for some teachers who are just doing this as a job, but for someone who genuinely cares about education and genuinely cares for my kids, it was just like, I hate that I was leaving my kids, and I hate that I was leaving them early. But it was just in that moment, it was the right thing for me. And I think for them just to be like, no, I'm fighting back in my own way. I've had enough of your BS. I put up with it for months just because it was better than the first job, but I'm done. And that felt so powerful. And it did pay off, because now with this third job, they do respect us. They do like care about the childhood development. Like they're a lot more what I'm used to in the UK, like more Western in that way, which has just been amazing. And I feel like I've really grown with this school, and I'm happy to stay with them for another year. And I just wish I could go to the first two schools and be like, if you want my loyalty, and you've got to respect me first, and then you can have my skills and my passion for teaching and for the kids. Eventually, so as much as I've had a lot of fun here, I've always known it's not permanent, purely just because there is a whole world out there that I want to discover. So while Hong Kong has been good for kind of starting off as a base, my aim is in a couple of years to go back to get my teaching degree, just to be able to really open up further opportunities for myself as a teacher, now that I've discovered this is exactly what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. So I've kind of had to put off all those plans for a year because of this virus and a lot of the uncertainty. I just felt it wasn't the right time to go back to the UK like I planned. But I'm totally okay with that. Do not be afraid to ask for help and to reach out for help when you need it. It does not make you any weaker of a person. And actually that's how you get out of the ruts you will find yourself in. Like, and I'm not just like in terms of teaching, but in other things as well. And on the bonus side, being in Hong Kong, you very quickly discover you have the whole of Southeast Asia from here to discover. Oh, I wish I could like show some pictures of like the crazy adventures you end up having, whether it's like going off to discover temples in Cambodia, like pretending to be Lara Croft, or sailing down the river in Guilin, surrounded by the mountains. I'm pretty sure inspired James Cameron from the Avatar film. Or this year, like flying home for a weekend to your parents' 25th anniversary. Like, there's a lot of crazy shit about to happen, and there's a lot of crazy shit in store for you in Hong Kong. But the whole idea of the storm is you're not the same person when you come out of it. There will be an eye of the storm when you kind of pause and reflect and see everything. And that's the biggest takeaway I would have for you, is just say, don't be afraid of the storm. Let it blow you about. It's scary, it's terrifying, it's really overwhelming, but you need it. You are a phoenix. You might get burned down to ashes, but you will rise again. Like, I'm naturally a bit rambly. It feels so weird. I'm like so nervous right now. It's like, that did not come out. We wanted it, but like, it's like when people say, okay, keep a straight face, and it's okay, very rambly. Okay, giggles are gone, I think. No.